remember that sinking feeling, the kind that latches deep in your gut and refuses to let go. It was the day I was publicly humiliated, called a fool in front of everyone I loved and everyone I hated. My ideas, my dreams, dismissed as honey hobbyist nonsense. That's what they called it. That's what they called me. It started with the betrayal. I had poured years into my research, developing proposals to green the city from the rooftops down. I was the top botanist in the city, or so I thought, until one day at a crowded city council meeting, my colleague, jealous, bitter, hungry, stood up and stole my work. He presented my ideas as his own, claiming he'd come up with them first, that he'd revolutionized urban ecology. And everyone believed him. No one even asked me what I thought. When I tried to speak, when I tried to explain, all I got was sneers and dismissive looks. My work, my passion was reduced to ridiculous honey hobbyist nonsense, as if caring about bees and rooftop gardens was some kind of joke. My family? They sat there, silent, watching the spectacle like it was entertainment. Not one of them believed I could recover. Not one of them thought I'd ever prove them wrong. That day, I left the city council chamber broken, humiliated, furious. I could have given up. I could have let their mockery drown me. But I didn't. Instead, I decided to erase the past, every smear, every doubt, by building something unstoppable from the ground up. Or rather, from the rooftops up. I sold everything I owned. I moved into a tiny apartment with a roof that was little more than a concrete slab. I started small, bees, plants, and a vision that most called impractical. I faced ridicule from the start. Who keeps bees on a rooftop? That's ridiculous, the property owner scoffed. You'll scare away tenants, the environmentalist scoffed. But I knew in my bones that I was onto something bigger than their dismissive glances. I dove headfirst into rooftop apiculture. I built tiny hives, created self-sustaining ecosystems. I studied and learned, often alone, often in solitude. Every setback, diseased colonies, failed hives, city officials dismissing my work, felt like a punch to the stomach. But I kept going. I knew that if I could revive just a fraction of what had been lost, I could change the city, change myself. And I did. Years slipped by. Slowly, the city started to notice. The pollinator populations that once teetered on the brink of collapse began to recover. Cracks in the concrete burst with tiny green shoots. Rooftop gardens bloomed like miraculous oases. My small project transformed into a movement. I was invited to speak at international conferences, featured in magazines, celebrated as a pioneer in urban ecology. My work, an improbable, stubborn act, had succeeded. But what mattered most wasn't the accolades. It was the quiet, profound sense that I had reclaimed my purpose, that I had proved that even after betrayal, mockery, and seeming failure, resilience could bloom like wildflowers on my rooftops. And then the day came. I returned home. I hadn't been back in years. My family's house stood at the end of a quiet street, unchanged on the outside, but inside I knew everything had shifted. I parked my car, took a deep breath, and stepped onto the porch. They were there, gathered in the living room, faces lined with curiosity and a hint of skepticism. My mother's eyes widened as she saw me. My father looked away, uncomfortable. My siblings looked at each other, unsure whether to smile or dismiss me altogether. I didn't say a word at first. I simply walked to the backyard, and what I saw made my breath catch. The backyard, the once barren, neglected yard, had been transformed. It was a lush, thriving ecosystem. Rooftop gardens spilled down the sides of the house. Honeybees buzzed softly in carefully built hives, and native plants dotted every inch of the space. Native pollinators darted in and out. The garden was alive, vibrant, nothing like the desolate wasteland I had inherited. I turned back to face them. "This is what I've done," I said softly. "This is what I've built from nothing. It's taken years, sleepless nights, failures, mockery, betrayal. I was told I'd fail, told I was foolish, but I proved everyone wrong." A silence fell. My mother's eyes shimmered, tears threatening. My father cleared his throat, uncomfortable but visibly proud. My siblings looked at me with awe, an emotion I'd never seen before. "You always said I was wasting my time," I continued, "that I was embarrassing for trying to follow my dreams. Well, look around. I turned a barren roof into a sanctuary, an oasis that now sustains pollinators and feeds the city's soul. I took what they called ridiculous and made it real. I made it thrive." The room seemed to breathe with the weight of my words. And then my mother stepped forward, her voice trembling. "We didn't understand. We were scared. We thought you'd be hurt or worse. But we see now you believed in something so deeply that you refused to give up. And because of that, you've changed everything. Not just for yourself, but for all of us. But I learned that sometimes you have to burn everything down, your doubts, your fears, even the scorn of those closest to you, to grow anew. And I did. Today, I stand before you not as a defeated dreamer, but as someone who turned mockery into meaning, failure into triumph, rejection into redemption. My rooftops, my pollinators, my work, they're proof that no matter how broken your roots may seem, with enough resilience, you can grow something extraordinary. Because the greatest triumph isn't just the success itself. It's the relentless pursuit of what you believe in, despite every obstacle. It's the courage to stand tall when everyone else wants you to fall. And that, my friends, is the real honey, the sweet reward of stubborn hope and unwavering trust in your own dreams. So to anyone out there feeling mocked, dismissed, or broken, keep going. Throw your roots deep and watch your world bloom.